So the term miracologist was one that I had to come up with. Like wonder, I tried different words like miracler and miraclist before finally settling on miracologist, which means study of miracles. When I first started thinking about wonder, I knew that he studied things that were unexplained phenomena, things that appeared to be like magic, or that there appeared to be no reasonable explanation for. And as I started thinking about what those things would be, I realized that the term miracle really fit for all of those different types of experiences, whether they were things that happened in history, in different religions, or things that happen today that you might read about in a newspaper or in a book. Anything that couldn't be explained and that really sparked that feeling of wonder and astonishment and surprise. Those were the things that I knew wonder was going to be drawn to, that he was going to want to learn more about. And so once I realized that they were miracles, I thought, well, miracologist, that works. And that's how wonder became a miracologist and how he started collecting all those miracles in his notebook. And he collects them in the notebook because I am obsessed with journaling and writing things down and keeping a record of things, probably ever since Harriet the Spy. So I wanted wonder to be interested in doing that as well. I'm so glad that you asked about Faye. I love Faye. Faye is a character who came to me sort of fully formed. Like some of my characters, I have to get to know them a little bit. I have to write out sort of their stories. I talk with them like you would talk with a friend. I have to feel out their personalities and the way they might talk and how they look, but not Faye. Faye just popped into my head. She was wearing her cape. She was, she was just herself. She was already who she was. She had her own way of speaking. She had her own personality, and she was like ready to go, ready to be put in the book. And when I was writing, I never really had to wonder, I wonder what Faye would say here, or what would Faye do in this situation? It was always very clear. I knew what Faye would do because Faye, does her thing. Some of Faye is partially taken from a friend that I had growing up. She was one of my best friends growing up in Philadelphia. I didn't really realize it at the time I was writing because she's very different in a lot of ways, but she's also Korean American. She lived kind of across town from me, so I had to bike really far to get to her house. And she had this sort of exuberant, quirky personality that people were just drawn to. And also very intrigued by. So she shares some of her origin with that friend, and then some from my own personal quirky intensity, and then some from other friends I've had, and some that's just totally made up. But I never really sat and thought about how to make the person of Faye. She formed herself from all of these different sources and popped into existence, which is a very Faye-like thing to do. I love names. I am a huge name nerd. When I was growing up, I would ask for name books for my birthday and for Christmas, not so that I could name like future children, but so that I could name characters in books that I was writing, because I loved writing even when I was young. So all of the names in the Miraculous, not first and last name, because that can get a little much, but usually first or last name have something to do with the symbolism in the story. So wonder is pretty obvious. Wunder means miracle in German. We have a lot of names that are related to trees or to flowers or to birds. And that's all imagery throughout the story. So if you are interested in names, you can sort of take the names, plug them into a search, and figure out what they mean and how they relate to the story. It's not always the most precise one-on-one correlation, but it is something that I like to do to add sort of an extra layer of meaning to the story. I do the same in Quintessence and even the same in The Adventure Is Now. So that's something that you can watch for in all of my books. This is a question I get asked quite a lot, usually by adults, not usually by younger readers, but most of my books do have something sad happening in them. It's not always super sad. In The Adventure Is Now, there isn't quite such a big tragedy, but in The Miraculous, it's a very sad thing, right? It's very sad to lose a sibling. And I included it, I think, because sad things happen to everyone. Sad things happen to every single human that exists in this world. And at some point in our lives, we all go through that time where we start to wonder, is this world a good place? Is there goodness here? Is there light? Is there joy? Or is there more bad things? Is there more sadness? And I think that when we read stories about people who move through that grief or sadness or tragedy, it gives us a sense of hope. And it reminds us of the things in life that are good. And it reminds us of the light that does exist and how to live in community with people and how to find hope. And those are the things that we really need in the world. So I think literature gives us some of those things that we need to get through our own difficult times, whether they're happening now or in the future. And it also helps us have compassion for people who are going through that right now. So in your life, in your classroom, there might be somebody who's going through their own really difficult time. And reading about another person who's going through that and who has friends come alongside and help that person, that can help you learn how to be a better friend and how to love the people in your life and in your class and in your community. Do you really think I'm going to tell you that? Of course, I get asked this question a lot, and the person asking the question is usually kind of frustrated. They want to know, who is the witch? Like, exactly. Give me the straight answer. And the answer is that I cannot tell you. I do not even know myself. I did not know while I was writing who the witch was going to turn out to be. I didn't know, well, I won't give away the story, but I didn't know her identity. And this is a story about asking questions. It's a story about uncertainty. It's a story about mystery and accepting that there are things that we don't know and realizing that that sometimes is what makes the world a more wonderful and magical place. And so I will not tell you who the witch is, but you are free to make your own decisions about who you think she is. And whatever decision you make, I think, will probably be right for you.